This is the year 2016. A few doctors in Estonia were doing a patient's brain checkup. That's when they noticed something that no one had ever done in medical science before. This patient had a mental illness, because of which doctors were recording his brain activity through EEG. It was a routine brain checkup for the doctors, i.e. they were doing a very normal patient's test, like they do for other patients. But they had no idea that during this test, something was going to happen that would completely shake up medical science. It so happened that the tests had just started a few minutes ago when the patient had a sudden heart attack and died. This was the first time in the lives of doctors that a patient died during a brain scan. Doctors were now convinced that whatever was going on in the patient's brain during his death would also be recorded in this test. And something similar happened. Before and after the patient's death, whatever his brain was thinking, everything was recorded in this test. The patient who died during the brain scan was an 87-year-old Canadian national who had a disease called epilepsy. Because of this disease, he started having seizures while sitting, and that's why doctors were performing EEG to monitor his brain waves. EEG, or electroencephalogram, is a test in which the electrical activity in the brain is monitored. For this test, a dozen electrodes are glued to the patient's head, which detects the electrical charges produced by the brain cells and then shows them on the computer screen. Now, how do doctors know what's going on in the patient's brain to know this? It is important that we first understand the concept of brain activity. More than 100 billion neurons are found in the human brain. These neurons are the most important part of our nervous system, whose job is to send messages from one place to another in the brain. This message is actually an electrical charge that is sent by one part of the brain's neurons, and the other part's neurons receive this electrical charge and process that message, and then give a signal to the body part to perform any action. There are so many processes going on in the brain at all times that as a result of them, countless electrical charges move from one place to another. By moving these electrical charges, a pattern of waves is formed, which is called brain waves. This pattern of brain waves is different for each job, which has been given different names by medical science. So far, medical science has been able to identify 5 types of brain waves, which have been given the names of alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and theta waves. The pattern of alpha brain waves is something like this, and its frequency is from 8 to 12 Hz. That is, in 1 second, this wave is formed 8 to 12 times. Our brain produces alpha waves when our mind is completely relaxed, just when we wake up in the morning and are lying on our bed relaxing. Or alpha waves are also produced when we practice yoga. Now, let's know about beta waves. The pattern of beta waves is something like this, and its frequency is from 12.5 to 30 Hz. And it is produced when we wake up properly and get busy in our work. Apart from this, beta waves are also produced when we are thinking something or concentrating on something. The frequency of gamma waves is from 25 to 140 Hz, and it is the highest frequency wave in all brain waves. Our brain produces gamma waves when we are very active and performing an extremely complex type of work. Those who are very intelligent and find the solution to the most difficult problem in minutes, behind them are gamma waves. The frequency of delta waves is the lowest in all brain waves. Their frequency is only from 0.5 to 4 Hz. Delta waves are produced in our brain during deep sleep. That is, when we are sleeping very deeply. Delta waves produce many hormones in our body, especially growth hormones. These waves are mostly found in children, and as a person grows up, delta waves also decrease. Finally, let's talk about theta waves. The frequency of theta waves is from 4 to 7 Hz, and it is produced in the brain to memorize anything, learn new skills, and during daydreaming. Now that we know the basics of these brain waves, it will be a little easier for us to understand the brain scan of the patient. As we know that the frequency of gamma waves is from 25 to 140. There is another range within this range, which is from 30 to 100 Hz. And the brain produces gamma waves of this special frequency when we are using our memory. That is, when we are remembering special events in life. Doctors noticed a lot of gamma waves in the brain, which was especially coming in that range when a person is recalling the memories of his life. Scientists had tried to notice people's brain activity before they died, but they could not record them completely. But in the case of this Canadian patient, he had good and bad memories of his life for a few minutes before and after his death. Doctors and scientists studied the gamma waves of the dying patient well from 2016 to 2022, i.e. for 5 years, and then found that a person is remembering his life events while dying. There is no solid evidence of this finding by doctors and researchers, but to prove their findings, they also contacted those patients who were saved from dying due to an illness, or some patients who are saved by taking them to the hospital at the last moment. When they were asked, they also had to say that as if someone had flashed back their life in front of them. This experience was not faced by 1 or 2 people, but many people had given the same kind of answer. Doctors and researchers had not done this brain scan publicly since 2016 because they wanted to study it well, and they also wanted to match the brain scan of another person while dying with the scan of this Canadian patient. But they failed in this task. Now, because doctors have only one person's brain scan while dying, their findings are also very controversial. Doctors have also written in research papers that the Canadian patient was already suffering from an illness, because of which he was taking a lot of medicines. These medicines can also alter brain activity, which can make a difference in the result. But anyway, there are a lot of chances that when a person is dying, there is a flashback of his whole life in front of him. And if this is true, then those who have done good deeds in their life, the same things will repeat in front of him while dying. And obviously, the one who has chosen the path of bad deeds, the same flashback will also come in front of him. What do you think about this pure scientific research of the viewers? Do let me know in the comment section. I hope you will like and share. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.